Coming to you from the M&M Exterior Studio in Nooksville, Virginia, this is Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle, the introvert's extrovert. She talks to people so you don't have to. For now.
Welcome back to Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle, the introvert's extrovert. I am here with the Moth Grand Slam champion, Emily Yarrison.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Emily, welcome.
That was Carrie Strug, 1996.
What a great poem. 1 foot up.
Oh, God, you just nailed that intro. Just like
1 foot landing.
Yeah.
Broken ankle.
You just put your hands up, smiling through the tears.
Oh my gosh, Emily. So I'm gonna throw you for a ringer with the first question.
Yeah, because we're playing hot seat.
We are. Who are you?
Who am I?
Jean Valjean.
I'm swift as a coursing river. No. So I am.
I loved that.
Who am I? Let's see. I am a 32-year-old white lady.
I can vouch for that.
I've really leaned into that. I'm a teacher. Did you try to
run from that in the past, or?
I think that when you're a 19-year-old liberal college student, you just really want to be European, and then you're 32 and you're like, I mean,
just a white girl.
I'm just lame. I'm just a lame white lady. And that's okay because my job is that I'm a teacher and I teach recently arrived immigrants to the United States, and I love doing it. But there's nothing that makes you feel more like a lame white lady than a bunch of teenagers from other countries. And what I've realized coming into I didn't come into teaching I didn't start teaching until I was 29. So late to it, like a true millennial, I kept jobs for 2 years, less than 2 years, and moved on.
Thank you for taking one for the team to be a true millennial. I
mean, I think like it's sometimes you have to stand in your truth, and like I did.
Thank you.
So you're welcome.
Yeah.
And what I think when you're younger, if you start like at 22, right, when you graduate, you kind of want the kids to like you. And at 29, I already didn't care. So it's a nice, like, their secondhand embarrassment is my lifeblood. So like, if they're like cringing, I'm like, whoa, like I get more powerful.
That's like parents, I think.
Exactly. Exactly. And like, but
I get more powerful. I love that line.
I'm less responsible for them.
Yes.
And so powerful. They're just like, oh, miss, oh God. And I'm like, I'm like Jafar, just like, I'm so powerful because you have your cell phone out, and I'm like, Hector, put your phone away. I can see you on your phone. You should put it away. And I don't stop singing until they put their phone away. And that is a very effective strategy and is not on any teaching blog or in any professional development. You heard it here. Sing at them. Teenagers hate that.
I knew you and I were destined to be friends.
Yeah.
Because that is my strategy with parenting.
Yeah.
Is I sing everything.
Yeah. And the kids are like, oh no, it's like kryptonite. Yeah.
She's defeating me.
Yeah. And like, as they melt away, I get stronger and stronger. And so yeah, I guess I'm a writer. But I don't write a lot now.
Oh, okay.
I don't write as much as I should. I read a meme a while ago. I guess it was a tweet, and the woman who wrote it said, I was at a party and someone asked what I did, and I said, I guess I'm a writer, but I haven't really done anything. And the lady that she told was like, girl, there's some white man out there saying that he's a writer who's done less than you. So tell yourself, tell people you're a writer. And I was like,
girl.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I can do that.
Writer. Teacher, writer.
Yeah. Storyteller.
Storyteller champion.
Cutie pie.
Yeah.
Storytellers kind of always have been, but recent in the last year, like
professional.
I guess I have gotten paid to do it. I've gotten paid to do it. Yeah. So I guess you can say that's professional.
Yeah. We both have. And so.
Yeah. So we're both professional.
And we still carry our card around with our
that's
money
true.
In it,
I still have emergency money from that show.
I literally just found it when I was cleaning the other
There
day,
you
and it makes me
go.
feel really good. So
Yeah. I keep it in my purse. Nobody robbed me.
she's walking.
So I've only got $20.
Shh, don't
It
let
means a
people
lot.
know. I know. It's like priceless.
Yeah. And I guess what else? I'm a dog owner. Notice I didn't say dog mom.
Yeah, I noticed that.
We have a very distinct power dichotomy, my dog and me.
Oh, yeah.
I am a huggle lover.
You're a huggle lover. I'm a huggle lover.
Yeah. This is...
We could all be huggle lovers.
Yeah, I mean, I bought this as... Mine is like currently, I did wash it, but it is covered in dog hair.
Yes.
I currently have had it for a year. I bought it as a joke.
Why don't you describe to everyone? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Christmas
interrupt.
card.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And it's a huge part of my life. A huggle is a combination blanket sweatshirt. Mm-hmm. It is reversible, though I've never reversed it. The pocket, there's only a pocket on one side.
What?
Yeah, there's no pocket on the other side.
Oh, I see. Wait, now, if you
Yeah, so why is it reversible if there's no pocket on the other side?
Yeah, it's not reversible.
Doesn't make sense. And so, yeah, I've spent a lot of time in it. I realized that almost all of the Instagram videos I've posted over the last year have been me wearing it.
That's awesome.
So, like, there's a lot of huggle in there.
So Emily was here before. We did an episode that got wiped out in the great hard drive crash of 2019. Mm-hmm. And so the blessing of many that actually came from that was that it allowed us to redo it today and for me to buy a huggle. And so we could double huggle.
Yeah.
Podcast.
And you guys bought me pancakes.
Yeah, we did.
So that was baller.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And now we're extra comfortable.
Super comfortable.
Yeah.
We might sweat, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah. I'm okay for now.
Yeah. I could go a little longer.
Yeah.
So just to recap, you just won 2 nights ago the Moth Grand Slam Championship in Washington, D.C.
I did.
So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And you came to see me.
We did. It was very exciting.
Yeah. Date night.
Date night. Jeremy and I drove into the big old city.
Yeah. Parents' night out.
Yes.
Yeah. You drove all the way into the big city and you came and saw me perform.
And I was so glad you won because had you not, it just would have been such a waste of time.
Oh my God. Yeah. And money.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Can you imagine?
So we were like kind of angry until you performed because we were like, what did we pay for? No, I'm just kidding. Every story was amazing. We really loved it.
It was so cool because, I mean, obviously I wanted to win because who doesn't like to win?
Yes.
Right? But it was really great because I met everyone for the first time when I got there. Like I hadn't met any of the other storytellers and it's all people who've won story slams. And so you already know that they're going to be good because they've already beaten 9 other people to be there. And everyone was just so nice and like supportive. We talked about this on the Great Mystery podcast that will never be seen. Never see the light of day.
The storytelling community.
Exactly. Like, so I tried stand up and it's just it's really unwelcoming and like, it makes sense on one level because people try stand up and they're terrible and like they say really offensive stuff. And so it's hard to break in, but like, it's also it didn't seem like a community that really recognizes talent or like supports each other, like, cause it's so cutthroat.
Yeah. Like you have to step on other people to get.
And also you're in Washington DC, like you're not even in New York, LA or Chicago. Like what are you doing?
Take it down a notch.
Yeah. Calm down. And so I found it to be really like a negative space. And the audience also is like daring you to make them laugh. So it's much more high pressure.
Like dig their heels in, like try it.
And I've done it twice and I did not bomb either time. I did well. So I feel good about that. But when I discovered the storytelling community, I realized everyone is just really supportive of each other and everybody wants you to succeed. And like everybody wants to hear a good story.
Yes.
And whether or not you win something, if you told a good story, and it might be another night that you tell it and you do win. And so few of them are actually competitions.
Exactly. And also I was, because of discovering the storytelling world myself, and that's how we met.
Yes.
I enjoy telling stories at just a regular dinner party, a, girls' night out, a couples' night out, a people's night out. Like the joy of just bringing joy to other people in some way, or connection in some way to people. So I didn't even know that world was out there. And then you throw competition on it, and that's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's thrilling. But like you said, I love that it's just such a, everyone wants everyone else to win. Everyone wants, because especially when you bring people to it, you want them to have a good time. So it's like, oh, I hope everyone's good, because I want, people who are coming to see me to enjoy the show.
Exactly. And I think that was about the other night, the Grand Slam. Everybody was so nice, and we were all like, great job. Like, you did really well, or like, you're going to do well, hyping each other up, like helping each other. And then, of course it was nice to win, but like, even if I didn't, it was still like, I would have been okay with losing to any of them. Like, it doesn't really feel like a loss. I mean, getting into the Grand Slam at all is such an honor. Yeah. It really does. Being in it opens a lot of doors for people. So that's awesome. Winning is even better.
Hell yeah.
but just being in it, like we were saying backstage, like just being in it, like actually gives you a lot of clout. And like, if you want to keep doing storytelling, like it's a huge thing to have on your resume, whether or not you win. So that was super cool. And I think the other thing I really liked about the show that we did together was that everybody was awesome. And like, I invited a lot of people to that show, and everyone said that the whole thing was great, and that was really nice. I like that. I mean, I loved that show. I laughed so hard my face hurt. I thought it was so funny. And you were great, and Majdi was great, and Ratija was great. So I love that. And I also like thought that performing in front of 1,200 people would be more nerve-wracking. Yeah. And before I got on, I was like really nervous, like, how many people? Because of course, when you're down there, you can see everyone, but when you're on stage, you can't see anybody.
And once you heard that first roaring laugh, you were like, I got this.
Yeah. And it just gives you more confidence. I mean, I guess that's for me. I know that's not everyone, but I felt more confident as soon as I made the audience laugh, I felt like energized, and I felt like I was able to tell my story like naturally, even though I was in front of 1,200 people.
Yes. I think that's the biggest thing, is like the first laugh. It's the first connection with the audience. It's the whole, they like me. They really like me.
Literally. And I am a bit like Tinkerbell. If I don't get constant praise, I die. So
I never thought about
you need to clap harder.
I never thought about it, but I think I could probably use the same analogy.
Yeah. It's like really important that I get constant praise and reassurance, or I will die. So you do need to clap for me.
Clap. Yeah. You're amazing. You're amazing.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
You know what I just realized is that, like, I'm often told that I'm a very supportive, slow clap, standing ovation from Jeremy. I'm told I'm doing some honest stuff here, because podcasts are a place for honesty. I'm realizing that I get told a lot that, like, I'm a, very encouraging, supportive friend. And it's probably because I'm like, I need support and encouragement.
So like what we've written in our social contract is that you give it back to me.
Like, I'm doling it out, but I need it back.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you've ever studied communication rhetoric, but it's back. You need to give it back.
This is our social contract.
Yeah, this is our social contract. We've signed it with blood, and you need to give me back praise.
Hint, hint.
Hint.
I'm very needy.
I texted my sister, like, called me, and I was like, I've never received so many compliments in my life. It was just it was the best.
And were you loving it? You were like, this is...
Everyone, I mean, yeah, people were like, you're so good. And I'm like,
I know.
I was like joking. My head like couldn't fit in my car. So big.
So, Conan O'Brien, I think I was listening to one of his podcasts, and he talked about all comedians and people who perform on stage are basically screwed up in some way. Their parents screwed them up in some way, and they need constant praise and attention, affection and whatnot. Yeah. Now, I'm going to give a theory to you. Okay. And you can make or break it. So I am 37. You are 32. Yes. But we're both in our 30s. Yes. And we're just now discovering the storytelling world. Yes. And of course, we love the high and attention. But from we didn't seek it from a super young age. Did you?
Absolutely, I did.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Any type of... But did you pursue it, though? Pursued the stage?
I did for a while, yeah.
Because I grew up wanting to be an actress.
So did I.
But I didn't follow through with it.
I actually did kind of. I went to this conference in Dallas when I was in high school and tried out for a bunch of agents and stuff. I didn't get any.
Screw them. Screw them.
That's okay. But yeah, so I did kind of try. But obviously it didn't, and I didn't do high school theater or anything. Yeah. I did theater stuff when I was a kid, but nothing professional.
I did, I was the student director my senior year, because I finally I did drama classes, and I liked it in my head, but I did not want to put myself out there and get rejected, so I protected myself. And then I finally was involved enough that I was like, oh, I want to student direct, because I like being in control and judging and things like that.
Yeah.
But then I didn't pursue it because it recently dawned on me that I lived outside of New York City. Why didn't I ever think to go in to do stuff? So I had a joke when they were talking about that. I was like, dang it, my parents, they didn't screw me up enough, you know?
Yeah.
I just really, it was like, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. Looking for it. So who's screwing you up now?
Yeah. No, but what I'm saying is we didn't need it that bad that we blew up our whole life to pursue it. We kind of did stuff and now here we are.
My small pond attention was definitely enough. Yeah. I
maybe that's the way you judge how much of an influence things have in your life. We're good in a small, when our thing aired, and I'm sorry you didn't make TV because you were too hot for TV.
Too hot.
You shouldn't have said all the sex stuff in the beginning.
And it's so funny because it's not about sex,
that. But my 10 seconds on the news, I honestly, my brain turned off and it was like, you made it. I stopped thinking about my story for the event. It was as if I had already done the event because I was like, oh my gosh, I was on the news, you guys.
I was already on the news.
And 2 days before, and Jeremy's like, you really need to practice. I'm like, but my brain won't let me. It shut off.
Yeah. I mean, if it's any consolation, I didn't practice at all for my Grand Slam show.
Don't let your competitors hear that.
Everybody has a different creative process.
Yeah.
And mine is to avoid.
Same, girl. Same.
I was texting my childhood friend who I've known since I was 3. So we've known each other for super long. And, as she said, we are opposite sides of the same coin. She was like, how are you ready to do it? And I was like, I haven't practiced or anything, and I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out. And she was like, I'd be more worried if you said you had memorized it.
So I can't remember if we talked about this, but for, I tell stories, my background is telling stories to friends.
Yeah.
Then I did the bookstore, which was amazing. Shout out to Old Town Open Book in Warrenton. And so when it came to the mistakes were made, because it was in the big old city of Washington, D.C., I felt like I needed to take it more seriously.
Yeah.
And so after talking to Ratija, I wrote out the story.
So did I, yeah.
Yeah. And then she was like, oh, send me, send me a recording of your story. And so I read it. And then I tried to tell it, and I kept trying to tell it the way I wrote it, because when I wrote it, when I write, I see my words and I fix the way and make it sound better. And so after couple weeks of this, Ratija had a great sit down with me, and she said, you kind of lost yourself by doing that. And,
yeah.
And that's when I realized, by trying to take it more seriously and write it out and all that stuff, I kind of,
Exactly. Yeah. She wanted a recording, and I was like, oh no, I hate that, because if I'm not in front of an audience, I can't do it.
Same.
And I mean, even last night, people were like, oh, tell your story. And I tried, and I was like, guys, I just really don't want to.
It's not the same.
It's so awkward. I can't do it.
You need adoring fans. Or
well, it's like a performance, right? It's a bit like going, asking someone to do a monologue from a play.
Yeah.
At Thanksgiving. Yeah. I mean, it's imagine you're 17 and you're in, Bye Bye Birdie, and someone's like, all right, let's sing your
sing your song.
Sing your song. So I was like, ugh, like I've been asked to do that before, so I'm just basically going to say like, no, you just come to the video.
Yeah, come to my show.
Yeah, I'm happy to like, I'm going to order the footage and like, I'm happy to put the video up, but it is a performance. It's not just telling a story, because there are things that I did on stage that enhance it, obviously, right? Yeah. My hand movements, gesticulations, facial expressions. But I had the same problem that you really do lose yourself a little bit. Even in writing, I can't it just never comes across, and I had the first time, like when I called the coach for, the Moth,
was that free coaching?
I guess it was part of it.
Yeah.
I had that call with her and she hated my original idea. Oh. And I found out that that's actually she didn't really like a lot of the other people's ideas. So I was like, okay, it didn't just happen to me. And some of her feedback definitely was true, but some of it I was like, I just don't agree with that.
Yeah.
And but to her credit, she got me to think of a new story, and that's the one that won. So thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
But it's so hard. Those calls are so awkward because you when they're like, okay, you go ahead and tell your story. I'm going to record you. And I'm like, nah, I don't know. We're not going to do that. I just want to talk through it.
Yeah.
And I had that first experience with that when I did Story Collider back in February. And the producers of that, Miriam and Shane, are awesome. And they're super professional and really were my introduction to this whole process. A woman named Skylar, my friend Skylar Bayer. She lives in Maine now, but she was in DC for the last year doing a fellowship. And I went against her at the Moth. That's I beat her at the Moth. And,
are you still friends?
And we are. And because she came up to me and she was like, I produce this storytelling show / podcast.
Oh, wait, you just met her there?
Yeah. She came up to me after they did the thing at the end. And she was like, do you have any stories about science? Cause I'd love you to do this. I'll give you tickets to the show that's next week. And I'm performing in it, and I'll introduce the producers for DC. And I am incredibly grateful for her because she opened this world to me. That's so cool. Skylar, thank you. You are amazing. And she's an amazing storyteller. Oh. And she went up and she told this really awesome story at the Story Collider. It's a science, themed podcast. And she's a scientist. And, she was on the Colbert Report in 2013 because she was doing a project partnered with a community member in Maine, and the guy, they were meeting at a gas station for him he was a scuba diver, and he had a bucket of scallop gonads because she studied scallop sexual reproduction, and he put them in the wrong car. And the car drove away, and the Colbert Report did a story on it, and the clip is so funny. And
have to look that up.
She ended up telling this story about the guy that she partnered with, and she stayed friends with him, and they were from two different worlds, and they ended up becoming very close, but he unfortunately died of cancer. And but it was amazing. She just did this great it was funny, and then it's touching, and it's obviously very sad, but she brought it around and ended it so well. And I was just this is so cool. I want to do that. I want to be like Skylar.
I want to be like Skylar. I want to be like Emily.
Yeah. And she introduced me to all of it. And she introduced me to the producers that night. I pitched to them, and they let me just email them. They're like, oh, Skylar vouched for you. And so Miriam and Shane, when I pitched to them, I pitched, it was a dark story. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't say it. I didn't tell them the story. I just kind of talked it through with them for an hour, and they really just helped me shape it into something really good. And it ended up getting featured on the Story Collider podcast in May, which was very cool. So I learned more about the production process, and what Retija did with us is that's normal.
Yeah.
For a well-run show.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've gotten into the storytelling world.
Yes.
You're obviously hilarious.
I got to stop.
Stop. But you are.
Stop.
Stop. You're hilarious. You're hilarious.
You need to clap harder. Yes.
So since as of right now, who knows what Flushing It Out will turn into?
Yeah.
But if Flushing It Out is about gleaning wisdom and life lessons from other people's life experiences. Let's have you drop some knowledge on us today.
Okay.
So,
hot seat me.
Hot seat you. What is one thing you have learned since getting into the storytelling world?
One thing I've learned since getting into the storytelling world, other than the fact that it exists.
Same.
I guess I've learned to have more confidence, I think, in myself and my ability to perform. And like, I mean, that's great because I've always I've liked being in front of people. And obviously I'm a teacher and my mom's a college professor and she always says, every class is like a production. So all the world's a stage, Emily.
Does she really say that? That's amazing.
She does. She doesn't really say all this world's a stage, but she does say that yeah, I mean, teaching is about you're performing.
Oh, I love it.
And she's a huge football fan, listens to Mike and Mike every morning, loves football.
Really?
And she doesn't have a favorite team because she just likes the theater of it all.
The theater of it all.
I just like the theater of it all. I'm like, Mom, what? She's crazy. Anyway, love you, Mom. So, because I think our people around you, like I said, when people that love me know that I need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Then you start to question, am I really funny or are they just see that I have that need and they're filling it because they're my friends?
Because you meet people and you're they're like, oh yeah, people always told me I should do stand up and you're like, oh, who told you?
It's like American Idol when they go on singing.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow.
Who did you this to service?
Wow.
And it's been nice to kind of get confidence in myself because I think that's something I really lacked.
Yeah.
And just that, I do have an ability.
Why do you think it is we need the validation of strangers to make us feel better when our own family and friends tell us and we're like, you don't know what you're talking about. But this stranger, now thinks I'm funny and suddenly, because I can say this because this is how I too feel, making people who don't know me laugh. I'm like, maybe I really am onto something.
You know what it is? I think it's a bit like having a therapist, right?
Oh.
You want the unbiased opinion of someone. And it means more because it's unbiased. But I can logically know that my mommy and daddy are very proud of me. But of course they're going to say that I did a good job. And my parents are not the kind of hypercritical parents for in, performances or sports or anything. But they're much more of the oh my God. Oh my gosh. What a great job.
You did that.
You are amazing. You are amazing. And I'm yeah, I mean, it's very nice. I wouldn't want it to be another way.
Yes. Please don't stop praising me.
Yeah. Thank you, mommy and daddy, so much. But I don't actually call them mommy and daddy, just FYI.
It's okay if you did. I wouldn't judge. So your confidence has really... Boop, boop.
Yeah, it has. I mean, when I got into storytelling, I was in a very low place. And my self-worth was non-existent. So, you know what? I'm going to say it. Yeah. The validation of strangers definitely helped that. I have no shame in my game.
Yeah.
That being, supported by people who have no vested interest in you is great. It's okay, I'm affecting people. I have people coming up to you and I think even much more than people saying you were funny is when people say that their story that your story affected them in some way or helped them or
yes.
And that's really cool. I mean, it's cool to have, we're so all just little specks of dust, right? And it's cool to be able to have an effect on another human being when we're all just
that. So I love, that's why I'm glad. That's why I like fleshing it out because peeling back the layers is that you hit the nail on the head for me personally too, is that, impacting us, the validation of strangers. What I feel is that I love, of course, telling funny stories, making people laugh. But I feel for me at the heart is I want to share truth. And I don't mean truth, but just I want to share the human experience.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the real stuff. And I know you do too. And so I think for me, it was that validation of you don't need to be in relationship with me for years and know my heart and know all this stuff. And then finally you'll walk away from my just whatever friendship with something wow, I could tell a story to a room of strangers and it could impact them.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
I think so, particularly And we had talked about this last time. The story that I told for the Story Collider was about when I attempted suicide. And I'm past that, guys. Don't worry. Scar, not a wound. Scar, not a wound. But I talked about what happened afterwards. I didn't talk about like what led up to it or like how it happened or like just what happened afterwards and like the feelings that I had afterwards and how much of a struggle it is to like survive something that you didn't think you would survive and like trying to find meaning in like every day because you're like, this is not what I thought. I said in the story, like, none of my problems were solved. Like, this was supposed to be the problem solver. And obviously it was like a very vulnerable story, and they asked me if they could put it on the podcast, and I said yes. And then I shared it like personally on my social media. And as like terrifying as that was, because it's so raw, like it wasn't a raw thing for me, but just like emotionally raw, I guess. Like you're just like so exposed, and
for sure,
like a lot of people didn't know that about me. And it was like pretty nerve-wracking. And then a childhood friend messaged me, and she sent me this very long message, and she said she had typed it out in Word first, and her mom had taken her own life 3 years prior. And like she just said all this really nice stuff, and like how listening to my story felt like a conversation with her mom she didn't know she needed to have, and that helped her like kind of make sense of things. And that was like, okay, that was worth it. To know that like putting my like garbage out there like has helped this girl that like I haven't seen since high school, but like I cared for her very deeply and like her family. And that's sad that her mom doesn't get to see her kids, and I tried to, put it in I when I responded back, I was like, it's really hard to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. And I think that's why people don't understand, because we keep trying to make sense of suicide, and suicide is against the human like condition. It's against the human nature. So it's not something that makes sense. And trying to stop it is like trying to stop a tornado. You can't, if it's coming, it's coming. And like, you can do things to prevent it or try and prevent the damage. But like, sometimes it just happens. And it was, I think like, even just getting that message, the whole experience was worth it, because I know that she felt like it helped. So that was good for me. And people came up to me after this, like after I got off the stage, and were really like kind and said they struggled with the same thing, and that like thanked me. And so it was very hard to talk about something that's so taboo. I guess. And
that's what I was going to ask is like, where are you now with it? Because I heard the story Jeremy and I did, and we can post it because it's a very powerful story. And
absolutely.
I thank you for sharing that. And so where do you feel like you are now with talking about it? Like, because you've put it out there, you kind of, whether it's on purpose or accident, or there's better words to use, but like you have started the conversation. So where are you at now with mentally having that conversation? Is that something you want to continue to lean into and talk about?
That's a really good question. I think I'm fine with talking about it. I think that it's other people that aren't fine with talking about it, And what I said in my story is that it felt like after I got out of the hospital, walking around with 2 broken arms and nobody mentioning it. Just like, are we just not gonna...
I'm gonna knock over everything on your table.
Are we just not going to talk about it? And then, so that in turn made me feel like, because they felt like they couldn't talk about it. Or they shouldn't talk about it.
And I would assume, and I don't know if you said this in your story or I'm putting words into your mouth, but I think it was that before your attempt, you felt like you didn't want to burden people with your problems. Then after the attempt, because no one talked about it, it was like, well, now I'm burdening them even more.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was powerful. I mean, for me to hear that, I appreciated you sharing that.
And I didn't realize that everyone thought that you're supposed to give people space, quote unquote. And that is not always true. And like, when everyone gives you space, it leaves you alone. And like, what happened? What happened the last time I was all alone? Like, or I felt this alone, and it confirmed my thought errors,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yeah, thought errors. That's a great term.
and that's from cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
Had like a bit of that.
Please share it. Because
And
we
yeah,
all
so
learn.
thought error, it confirmed my thought errors, and
Yeah.
it still feels like something people can't talk about. I mean, I've noticed, even after listening to my story and like it being a year and a half since I did that, like I still don't feel super comfortable talking to some people about it. Like it really depends on their reaction. I don't think it's something that I bring up a lot because I feel like people are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then they say my least favorite phrase, which is, I don't know what to say. And I'm like, well, I wish I hadn't said anything. Because, like, now you don't know how to react, and now I'm uncomfortable, and now we're both uncomfortable. And, so it's, if people are open with me, I'm happy to be open about it. It's just I now find it hard to bring it up because people get so weird about it because we're all taught, right, that it's supposed to be the secret thing.
Yeah. And shouldn't we just isn't it better when we just have fun all the time and,
Choose happiness.
Yeah. just be happy and not talk about the real stuff.
Yeah.
And that's hard. Hello, that's the point of my whole podcast. But even I'm guilty of, I'd rather just, I say that I'd rather sit and have fun, but that's not the truth of it. I can only do that for so long. And then I'm like, all right, we got to talk about the real stuff. And that's why backing up a little, because our New Year story is with the storytelling thing. Yes, I think actually I'm kind of all over the place, but that goes back to stand-up comedy. When I considered that too, and this is before I knew about the storytelling world, I thought, well, yes, I love telling funny stories. And I always bring this up, and I apologize to people if you've listened to more than one show, you've heard me talk about it, but like pooping my pants story, like I don't love putting that out there or being known for it. Like I said the other day, like, yeah, I've like branding myself around shit. Like that's, what am I doing with my life? But it's because that was just the tip of the iceberg of those feelings of shame and things you're not supposed to talk about. Like when I feel like I apologize for such a trivial example compared to yours.
Oh no.
But that's how I feel. Like I've seen people's faces when I'm like, yeah, I started a podcast. Yeah. Like I shit my pants and I just figured like, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one that this happened to.
Yeah.
And
no.
And so it's like your story is like real. This is real life. This is something that people experience. And if we don't talk about it, then we just keep going around the same. Whoops.
Yeah. I'm not going to pretend like things suddenly changed and people were like all around me, like lifting me up. Like that's not really what happened.
Yeah.
But I think that when you have something chronic like that, people are there, they're not. And some people are there at the beginning and then they kind of fade away. And some people are consistently there. And
what has helped you since then to kind of, would you say rebuild your life or how?
I think rebuild is because it was like,
I don't know if you said it on your, and exactly. I don't know if you said it on the story or our last deleted recording of you thought rock bottom was before, but rock bottom was actually right after. Because
you know what? I think you said that.
Did I?
Yeah, and I love it. I think you said that.
Oh my gosh. Well, we can't confirm that, so I will take that.
Unconfirmed, the lost files.
I will take it.
And yeah, it was definitely after because it was like, oh, like I did that and I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
And now nobody gives a shit. Like, I don't know.
Thought error.
Yeah. Well, of course, that's what, and I say it in the story that like I put in that people gave me space, and in that space I put like all these like negative thoughts. And I said in the Lost Files, exotic vacations have really helped.
Yes.
That's something. They're not like great for my bank account, but they are good for my mental health. So really nailing it. So since then I've been to Belize and Sweden and Estonia and Honduras.
Wow.
So when I was in Belize, which is like part of the story that I booked this vacation, I was like really rock bottom. I booked this vacation to Belize by myself and it was awesome. Had a great time. And when I was there, I was trying to think like, okay, what do I like? Like, what can I get myself more involved into, like have hobbies and like stop making like meeting people a priority, because when you're, you're single and people are like,
Yes.
you're like, well, why did they put yourself out there?
Yeah. And if you meet someone, then all your problems will be solved.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, what do I like? And I have been volunteering with the summer camp. And so I was like, well, I like volunteering. And I did try to volunteer 2 different organizations and neither of them worked out. But
you tried.
I tried. And within that time that I was trying, I found storytelling. And concurrently, I started teaching a class that I like. So I was teaching prior to that math, which I'm not very interested in. And I was co-teaching a history class. And I love history, but it's not my specialty. And then I was starting to teach English. And I love English. And like, that's really my specialty. And I was having a lot of like professional success. And then I, got into storytelling, and I felt like I was trying to describe it as quote unquote like personal success. And I was trying to, my friend didn't really understand what I meant by that. And I was trying to explain that it's like, having like a hobby and just being successful at it. Like he plays basketball, like just with his buds, just like balls with his buds.
Balls. They love playing with their balls.
He has to hoop it up. And, he's good at it. He's like, I'm like, you like being good at that, right? And he's actually, my friend Drew is who I went to Honduras with and who I was telling this to. And I was like, you like to be successful in your hobbies. You like to be successful in everything you do, right? Like nobody aims for mediocrity. Sometimes it just happens.
I think, I appreciate your honesty being able to talk about this because.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't think, most people are raising their hand to chat about it.
Well, I appreciate your openness and like wanting to talk about it because that's really what it is. It's not me wanting to talk about it. It's the other person wanting to talk about it and like hear it. And like that is really what enables people to talk about this stuff. Asking people if they're okay is like a general question that people are going to, just, I'm fine. And I think like if you want to help, a really good way is to like listen for the asking to hang out and like asking to spend time with you. Cause that's a lot of the time that's like the help, the asking for help, right? Yeah.
It doesn't sound like, hey, I need help.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like that. And then also just like asking specific questions. Like I think don't ask like, are you doing okay to check a box? Like ask a specific question that somebody's struggling with. And I think that's being open to talking about it is a lot on the other person and not as much on the person who's struggling as people, I think, believe.
Can you say that kind of one more time?
Yeah.
Just because I was processing as you were talking and I think it's important what you said. So
that I think that the other person being open to talk about it and being ready to hear everything and asking specific questions that they know that the person is struggling with, like it, a lot more of the responsibility of being open relies on the other person than people realize. Like the people often assume that it really relies on the person who's having the mental health issue.
Like if she wants, so if I were to give like an example, if I were to say, if Emily wants to talk about it, she'll talk about it if she wants to, but I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
But instead, and so that's
bad.
Yes. And so what I feel like I have done, and the reason I want to do a freaking podcast, which by the way, my daughter's like, why do you say that? Because I get passionate. The reason I want to do it is because I feel like I've had so many private conversations, which of course, everything I talk about privately will not always be on the podcast.
Yeah.
But when I meet someone like you who's willing to, I want to lean into that because so often people, I feel like, give us clues into how they're doing. And not to put pressure on people listening. I don't want people to walk away being like, oh my gosh, it's all this pressure on me.
Yeah.
But it's just that if someone gives you like if they give you a crack, don't bust through the door because I've been guilty of busting through that crack.
Kool-Aid Manning.
Yes, totally Kool-Aid Manning. And it's, backfired on me, but it's that if they are giving you a crack, like lean into that crack.
Yeah.
And so
ask the specific question that helps you peel back, as you like to say, peel back the layers, right?
Yes.
And a lot of it is knowing to do that and stop putting all of it on the person with the mental health. I mean, I hate to be like, man, don't do this, don't do that. But
but you can share from your experience.
Yeah, I think it's important that people stop spreading the let them come to you and talk about it if they want. I don't think I've met anyone with a mental health issue that operates that way.
Yeah. And I will say, and because I want you to either affirm it. Please affirm me.
Okay.
Or correct it. The round of applause. Please affirm me. Or correct it. Okay. So I feel like there's sort of two different, there could be two contradictory things you said.
Yeah.
One was, don't try to get on me about what I need to do. Kind of almost like, let me autonomously. Did you say, is that the right word?
Like have my autonomy about that.
Yeah. Have my autonomy about it. Let me kind of do it on my own. Then it's like, wait, I'm not going to talk about it. Da, 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 da. And that's kind of why I said the comment, you actually already brought it up. So you bridged the gap. You said, ask specific questions. And then I brought up the whole scene, like when they give you a little crack.
Yeah.
And so I want to kind of lean into that real quick as we wrap things up because, you know, I want people to hear, and like I said, we are only talking about your story. We cannot talk about anyone else's experience. However, we can glean some wisdom from your thoughts.
I am very wise.
So, but just to refresh that. And so I think that a lot of people feel, whether it's something as serious as a suicide attempt or just any sort of, what did you call it? An irrational decision?
Yeah.
So anyone who's made an irrational decision, any type of rational decision, doesn't want to then be coddled and, you know, whatnot.
Yeah.
But then you also don't want the opposite end of the spectrum of, oh, let's just ignore it and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so to wrap it up, like kind of focusing in on that, asking the specific questions, leaning into those cracks.
Yeah, I guess when I was quote unquote like coddled afterwards, that is when my autonomy was taken away. And like the people around me were like, you have all these rules now and we're doing all these things to like protect you because like you're irrational now. And
Well, and they love you.
yes,
You know, because they love
that
you.
is, I know
Yeah.
it came from like fear and love and caring. And I know that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I liked it.
No.
But there's that. And like that dissipated with time. But the other end, in the other end of the spectrum, right, is not talking about it at all. And I think that just approaching it with like, when I said that, like, just stop telling me what I need to do. What I mean by that is like, no one is approaching you for mental health advice. I am not going to, if I'm talking about my mental health issues with you, I don't care what you think. And like, it's like just listening. I think and that's like active listening, right? Like, yeah, you know, that's why suicide hotlines and all that, they train them in active listening. They don't tell them to give you advice. They never do that. In fact, it's against their rules. You're supposed to just listen and ask questions about how they feel and like, because the whole point is to like them to get the burden off of their chest and to like cleanse them of that. So like,
that's where the community sharing, it divides grief when we share the burdens with people.
Yeah. And so I think that a lot of people, and what I have been annoyed with when I've like talked to people about it is that they'll try to like give me advice. And that's where they're like, well, maybe you should like go to the gym. And I'm like, how about you suck my dick?
How about you shut the fuck up?
Yeah. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you.
Slow clap.
And so I think that, and a lot of people want to help.
Yeah.
And that's where that comes from. Like, how can I help you? And how you can help is like, be an active listener. Don't give advice. Nobody wants advice.
Yeah.
I don't want, like, I'll take advice from like a professional I'm paying. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
But if you're my friend then, and you are genuinely like comfortable talking about it and you want to talk about it and you're asking me questions about things, then like just respect that I don't need your advice, you know, like, and I think that's specifically hard for men to understand, because I think the go-to male mindset is often, to fix something.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's an issue in a lot of relationships.
Yeah. Can't speak for everybody, but that is a common thing.
A common issue. There was literally a whole Modern Family episode about it.
Yeah.
But some people want to fix things and some people want the other person to just listen. And,
and Jeremy, we actually have conversations and he'll start by saying, do you just want me to listen?
Which is, I think, probably why you have such a good relationship. That's a big that's a big reason because like, what do you want? Do you want advice or do you want me to listen? And that's I think, an important question to ask because
I had to start asking that of him, like to him, because I, on the other hand, was like, let me solve your problem.
Yeah.
And he was like, I just want you to listen.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, ooh.
But that's important. And I guess I don't want to ramble or anything, but I guess, that's how I feel about
I appreciate you sharing
all that.
Well, I want to have a whole side conversation about active listening, but we are out of time for today.
We are, I have to go see a musical.
Yes, but thank you for coming back. Thank you for chatting. Thanks
of course.
For being so open and just being an all-around great person.
Oh my God, stop.
Yes, you're amazing.
Yes.
You're amazing.
Yay.
You're the best. You're the best around.
The best.
And that's a wrap for now.
Thanks for listening to Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle. Music provided by twinmusicom.org. Song titled Night at the Dance Hall. Sound editing by me, Jeremy Spittle. A special thanks to our studio sponsor, M&M Exteriors. Visit their website at mmexteriors.com for all of your roofing, siding, and gutter needs in the Northern Virginia area. Visit our website at flushingitout.com and be sure to subscribe. This has been a Spitfire production.
That was the greatest thing I've ever heard.